One thing I hear quite often is that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed for you to make a specific dua, that it is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to grant you that specific dua. And while that is not always incorrect, I feel like it causes a few misconceptions that I want to help clear up. No dua ever goes to waste and no dua is ever unresponded to, but just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed for you to make a specific dua, that does not mean that you will receive that specific dua the way that you want it and when you want it in the end. It could be that what you're asking for is not good for you. عسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. It could be that you dislike something that is good for you or that you like something that is bad for you. It could be that this dua is your trial and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing your patience. It could be that you won't receive what you're asking for in this life, but you'll receive reward for it in the next life. There could be so many reasons as to why your dua wasn't answered the way that you want. And we're not all knowing, so we will never know all of the answers. But oftentimes thinking like this creates a sense of deep attachment or false hope in people with their duas. It is not always that your dua will be granted to you the way that you're asking for it just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed for you to ask for it. And constantly believing that might be very disappointing for you in the end when that dua isn't granted the way you asked for it. Now, this topic is most commonly related back to marriage and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you a specific person. Now, while that's not wrong, I would recommend just making dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you someone that is good for you. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you someone that is righteous or that has qualities that you want in a partner. But praying for a specific person is so limiting because you truly don't know that person until you have lived with them. No matter how much you think you know someone, you will not know them until you have lived with them. And even when you live with them, you will continuously be learning about them and about their personality. So I feel like making dua to be with a specific person is kind of scary because what if that person is absolutely the wrong choice for me? What if my life would be miserable? And especially if you're making a specific dua and everything seems to be heading in the opposite direction, that is probably enough for you to realize that maybe this isn't for me and maybe I should trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is leading me in the right direction. Because this idea that as long as I'm making dua for it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give it to me could be very draining for you. You're going to overthink things and you're going to start looking into things and thinking they're signs and so on and so forth. And particularly with this topic, if things are clearly going in the opposite direction, take the sign. If you feel like someone doesn't care about you, they probably don't. If you feel like your presence in someone's life doesn't matter, it probably doesn't. So a response to your dua could very much be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pushing you in an alternative direction because this will not make you happy.